Bill and myself were in a different band, and then we broke up, and then we were looking for a singer and a bass player. And we went around to see this ad. We saw this ad in the music shop saying, Ozzy Zig requires gig.
What was Ozzy Zig needs a gig? It was an advert in
Jones and well, not Jones.
in a music shop in Birmingham.
That we saw.
I needed a star name, you know. I mean,
a really stupid ad.
It was us that's in it.
You fucking turned up. Must have been work because you fucking must be asleep. You knocked my fucking door.
Yeah, thanks very much to all our friends out there and the band. Thanks for everything, guys. You forgot about us, didn't you?
And we said, oh, Ozzy. I said, I know an Ozzy. I said, it can't be the same Ozzy. I don't think it'd be that one because I don't think, as far as I know, he didn't sing. Because Ozzy was at school with me, you know. I said to Bill, it can't be the same Ozzy because he didn't sing then. So we went round. Sure enough, it was Ozzy. So, oh, that's it then.
Hello. Want to turn around for a second? I just met you at the airport about an hour ago.
Yeah. I just can't believe it, man. It was just a name. I mean, I thought, well, I've got to have a star name as an attract. There's like about 8,000 fucking ads on. I've got to stick out above the rest. So I go, Ozzy Zig. Well, that's got to attract some fucking Sunshine and the KC band or whatever.
It requires gig. It did as well. I mean, it did. I mean, it worked actually because it did. It was stood out a mile.
Look what happened.
And that was
At first, I didn't understand the way Geezer and Tony talked because they were from Birmingham, and I, at that time, wasn't around a lot of English people. So I didn't get the accent, you know. It was like, what? And a lot of time I'd ask Ronnie, what did he say?
Vinny had this little kit on top of Bill's big riser. He had this small bass drum in comparison to Bill's kit, because Bill had a huge kit. And I thought, that's dear, how are you going to hear that with us? Because we were loud on this big open air venue. So I had all these things going through my head and pacing up and down the dressing room. Oh, God, it's not going to happen. It's not going to work.
I just went to Tony and said, look, Tony, don't be nervous about this. If something goes wrong, they're not going to blame you. They're going to blame me. You know, it's always going to be my fault. I'm the guy who replaced Ozzy, remember? And you're Tony Iommi. They're not going to blame you. They're going to blame me, so don't worry about it. He went, oh, yeah, I guess so.
There's sort of me and Tony going one way and Ronnie and Vinny going the other way. The Yanks against the Brits.
That's exactly what Ronnie said, actually.
Yeah,
you know, when I first joined, I didn't know what to think. It was like this evil band and the evil music, and what if this evil's following us around, you know, and we'd be up in the plane. I'm thinking, oh, God. Well, I thought, well, if we crash, I'll maybe become a semi-legend or something.
When we did the lyrics to Paranoid, nobody knew what it meant. And so I had to explain what paranoid meant. I don't think even I knew at the time, it just sounded good. Because everybody was walking around going, yeah, man, I'm paranoid. And nobody knew what it meant, it just sounded cool. And so I just wrote this song, and luckily enough, the lyrics to the song were about being paranoid, so I was lucky at that one.
Everybody says
it's absolutely incredible, you know. It's just beautiful. It's the way they all should be. We're just going to go on and play our music, man. You know, we don't go on and blow the stage up or do anything like that. We just go on and play our music, man. Because I mean, some of these kids come and ask me for autographs, and I go, "How old are you?" And I go, 21. I go, "Fuck, you weren't even born." Well, my dad turned me on to you, man, and you know, and that's kind of humbling. You know, how old's your dad?
So we were smashed out of our heads. We used to have these big chillums. It's a bloody blast from the past, isn't it? These great big chillums are the best hash you could ever imagine. We'd smoke these until like the very last second that we had to go on stage. And Well, this one night we went on stage and he thought he was playing the flute, but the flute was down here on his chin. He was just blowing into the microphone. So all the audience was hearing was this on the amplified all over the PA. And he had his eyes closed, so Ozzy got this... We were all going, what the hell's he doing? And all we could hear was like this blowing all through the PA. The flute nowhere near his lips. So Ozzy got this great big mirror out of the dressing room and dragged it on stage and put it right in front of him while he was doing this thing. So he finished what he thought was this flute solo and opened his eyes and seen himself and he was just... And like, we just had to stop playing. We just couldn't play. We'd just been laughing for about 20 minutes after that.
Is the music loud on stage?
Pardon? What?
Is the music loud on stage?
What? My bass isn't.
Fucking hell. That's fucking throw here. Yeah. My mum phoned me up the other night. She lives in England. She said, can you tell geezers to turn down a bit? We're playing in fucking New York.
Heavy metal term. I don't know where that came from.
I find people like Van Halen and that, which again to me is a new group. Old-fashioned, aren't I?
Like a little girl behind the wall.
There's your lights. Yeah, Felix is round in there.
Clock. What's that? I don't know, I'm going to try some Rimos, you know, because these Ludwigs, they're nice, but I'm going to try the Rimos.
Someone the roadies down for a drink.
They're all in Vaseline here. Apart from you. And they're nice as well.
Yeah, but
St. John.
Well, my brother answered it and he came in. He says, there's something at the door that wants to see you. And I went, what do you mean, something? And he says, well, go and have a look. And I went out to the front door and there was this, a skinhead with this like big long gown on. His dad worked at Lucas's, the car factory, and he used to wear these big brown gowns. And he had this big gown on, a chimney brush over his shoulder, no shoes on, and a pump, what we used to call pumps, sneakers or trainers or whatever, on a dog lead. And he went, hello, I'm Ozzy. And he said, oh, no.
What's the funniest story about Bill?
Oh
my God. Trust me to pick that one.
You should know.
I'll tell you a story about We were all we had a day off one time, and we all went to the bar and got absolutely mindless in the bar. I don't think Tony was there. So I'm sitting over one side of this bar, and Bill is sitting at the bar, and he had a big beard in those days. And the bartender didn't know that Tony knew us, and me and Bill were absolutely shit-faced. So then all of a sudden, it's about 7 o'clock in the evening, and Geezer walks in, and he gets drunk, and nobody knows that we're all together, you know. So Tony walks in, and he's the only straight one amongst us, and he walks to the bar, and Bill's sitting there, and then he's like this, I'm over the other side getting these cocktails down me. And he goes to the bartender, and he goes, excuse me, sir, he says, do you have a match? And he goes, no, sir, but I have a lighter. He says, can I borrow your lighter? He says, certainly, sir. So he lights his lighter, and Bill's sitting there just like nothing's going wrong, and he sets fire to his beard. And it's like a brush fire, and he goes, and the flames start going up his face, and he gets a glass of water, and the bartender's mouth is now like... And he throws a drink. All of a sudden, this bar turns into like one of these Keystone Cup fights, and everything starts flying out. The next minute I do, Big Easy's being dragged out. He's drunk, and he's got a cup, and with a gun to his head, and then he's shouting to the cup, go on, fucking shoot me. I'll die for Aston Villa. Now, Aston Villa is a soccer team that he supports in England. And it was just one of those crazy fucking nights, man. And Bill's sitting in the bar, quite nonchalant with the fucking cocktail, and Tony pours a glass of water over his face, puts his face out, And he inhales the smoke, and the bartender's now in rigid shock, and he goes, not a bad smoke.
And the name of the song, NIB, didn't have anything to do with it. In fact, it was called Nib at first, and that came because Bill Ward, the drummer's beard, it used to look like a pen nib.
Days when we were all maniacs, and that's not saying that we're not maniacs now. We're more refined maniacs now, I think. But in the days when we were really, really maniacs, I got nicknamed, and I get nicknamed Nibby, and that came about because Oz and Geezer and myself had indulged in some extremely strong opium one evening.
We used to get fucked up all the time, you know. And I said, I looked at Bill Ward, and he had this big long beard. And I said, you look like a pen nib. I was stoned. And I said, well, what are you going to call this new song? And I go, NIB.
And then somebody put 3 dots behind it, and then everybody called it Nativity in Black.
We didn't play the show that night. Something happened and we couldn't play. So he'd obviously written his story, had a few drinks, gone back to do it. And the next thing, the review came out of the show that we didn't play.
Yeah, I mean, as I say, I came back and some of the bass had already been done, but I went in and I did my own version of that. I didn't want to listen to the bass that was on there, just so that I didn't copy it, although there was some good parts that I nicked.
I remember doing a show one time, and I think it was down in Nashville, and this guy, he's got a big black robe, he's got all this fucking paint, like Alice Cooper makeup on, and he walks on stage, and suddenly one of the road crew runs in and whacks him over the head with a fucking piece of wood or something. I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? And the guy points at him, and he's about to stick this fucking dagger into Tony's chest. That was because he played a bad note.
That was a good night.
No, really? He hadn't been paid for a week.
Tony also had mentioned, I hope it's not the Ozzy that I think it is, you know, because they'd been to school together and, you know, apparently they'd been, you know, not got on too well at school.
He was a year younger than me at school, and he was a pain at school, basically.
Gino Washington of the Ranger Band in a wild time. It's kind of funny because, I mean, when I joined the blues band, I was still dopping away like a soul band. And I remember him in the Reverend, his guitar player comes up to me and says, "Hey, I see, you don't do that in this kind of band. Save it, you know." What do you mean? I could never stand still. I could never stand when I was looking. When you're in a blues band, you've got to look a bit miserable and down. I could never do that to get into it.
On stage, do you ever think I'm too old for this? Yeah, every bloody night.
Of all the ones for him to pick up.
Every night.
Drugs, oh gosh.
I suppose, no, it didn't really play that much of inspiration, because when we first started, we couldn't afford drugs anyway. I mean, we'd probably have a joint between us once a week, which certainly wouldn't inspire you to write songs.
They took offence, all right.
You could speak to local news on, yeah, Black Sabbath are in town, they're all Satanists. If you go into the concert, don't look them in the eyes or you'll be possessed.
When I had my heart attack, Ozzy came in and said what he had to say, and that meant an awful lot to me. I'm lying in the hospital bed. He'd like to see the blood being drawn, to be honest with you. But that's ours, you know, it's like, you know. And then Tony came in, and Tony said what he had to say,
you know, and you just feel that, you know, it's like, that's love. So I'm sitting there wondering if I'm going to be, you know, alive or dead or whatever. I got a good feeling about it because I think I'm going to make it. Then Geezer came to visit me, and he brought me a card, and I thought, well, how nice. And I opened up the card, and it said, congratulations on your new baby. And that's Geezer's humour. And I had the best laugh that I could possibly do. I'm lying in bed with all these like things stuck in my arm and these things like all these bleepers and everything else. And he sends me this fucking card that says, congratulations on your new baby. And that's love. Life and death, man. Life and death.